Hello and welcome to the channel. Today, as you can see, I'm in a different location. I'm on an island on the east coast of the Philippines, about 30 miles away from the main island Luzon, and behind me you can see rice fields, terraces and palm trees. Anyway, to get back to the topic of today's talk, which is single story and double story extensions, which are the usual type of extensions you'll encounter in domestic projects. We have to consider the type of footings that we're going to provide, and these will either be trench fill footings that you'll most normally encounter, or else piled footings with ground beams. If we're choosing trench fill footings, then we have to consider firstly the type of soil we're dealing with, and the vicinity of or the closeness of any trees that may be in the area. There are two basic types of soil that we're going to encounter. One is the heavy clay soil, which we find in the London Basin, and the other is gravel and ballast type soils, which are considered non-reactive. What we mean by that is a reactive soil like a clay tends to shrink during the summer period and swell during the winter period when there's more rain. Gravel and ballast soils do not do this, so they're much easier to deal with. If we have a lot of trees such as willow trees or oak trees that are high water intake trees in the vicinity, this will affect the depth required for the footing. The reason for this is that during the summer months the trees are drawing up more water, and therefore the clays tend to shrink. And when the trees lose their leaves during the winter, and there's more rain about, then the clay soil tends to swell up. In this sort of circumstance, where you've got these high water intake trees near a clay soil, a footing on a clay soil, you will end up with deep requirement for rather deeper footings. These can be up to 2.5 meters deep. Therefore, for this reason, if we find that that's the case, then we would probably prefer to go with piled and ground beam footings. Piled footings, we typically either drive or semi-drive a pile in place, or drill a pile in place and concrete it in. This is done by a specialist subcontractor, and then the reinforced concrete ground beams are laid on top of these piles. This will then, typically the depth of the pile will be about 10 meters, and this will avoid any effects of the shrinkage of the clay soils. As I've said before, we don't have a problem in ballast or gravel or sandy type soils. Therefore, in that case, we would usually use a trench fill footing, and those footings would typically be about 1 meter deep. If there are no trees in the vicinity of a footing in clay soils, then again these footings will be about 1 meter deep. These are the main two types of footings that you will encounter in this type of construction. It's a common misconception that the second story would require deeper or wider footings. This is not necessarily the case, as the footing depth is really determined by the type of soil and the trees in the vicinity as stated. It's not the actual weight of the building that causes the issue, unless you're talking about up to 4 or 5 story buildings, but you're not going to encounter that in a domestic situation normally. I think this concludes the talk for the time being on the subtopic of foundations. In the next talk I will move up to the superstructure and the different types of supports that are needed for the superstructure, the roof, etc. Thank you.